Thank you for inviting us to investigate the success of Apple Pay. This presentation aims to give an overview of the actions taken by Apple that led to shape the market for Apple Pay. At the end, we present learning opportunities to move forward. In October 2014, Apple launched Apple Pay onto the market. Within 72 hours of its launch, there were over 1 million new users. Apple Pay was marketed to be an entirely new payment process that is fast and easy to use and will transform mobile payments. However, Apple was not the first to launch an e-wallet. You may recognize the saying, "It's better to be a pirate than join the Navy." What Mr. Jobs is suggesting is, one doesn't have to be the first in the market to be the best or have the greatest market share. The question Apple has probably asked itself is Apple Pay innovative or not? The answer is simply, yes, it's innovative. Using Schumpeter's types of innovations, we are able to demonstrate that Apple Pay was innovative because it introduced a new quality of good through improved security and simplicity of use. It also developed a new source of supply by utilizing existing market of Apple users. It opened a new market, established agreements with retailers and businesses before launching. What we present to you today are the challenges that Apple Pay faced in launching the service and the recommendations for moving forward based on a theoretical model. Challenge 1: Behavioral Management. Apple Pay has to convince users to change their behaviors and use Apple Pay for making purchases. A shift from traditional credit card payments has been a challenge that is evident through the 2015 Black Friday sales, when only 4.6% of people that had access to Apple Pay used it to make payments. Apple already pre-installed Apple Pay on all its new Apple products, and the credit card details can automatically be uploaded from existing iTunes account. Still, Apple failed to boost the use of Apple Pay service. A month after the launch, over 90% of Apple owners still had not used the service, with 32% of them not knowing how to use it and 30% not seeing the need to use it. By 2019, only 48% of Apple product owners have enabled Apple Pay. The increase in Apple Pay users could actually be a result of the global uptake of e-wallets and not a result of any significant action by Apple itself. Challenge 2: Stakeholders Management. Google Wallet was launched 3 years earlier, and so Apple had to create a new ecosystem that they could work in. These stakeholders included the following. Apple established relationships with merchants that were willing and able to use their device and service for customers. Prior to its launch, Apple already established relationships with 2.2 million retailers. They also partnered with Visa, MasterCard, and American Express, and engaged JP Morgan, who approached other merchants on their behalf. Apple also established relationships with other startup companies to ensure that their technology was cutting edge and eliminate any disruptive innovations from their competitors. Operating globally means that Apple has to deal with differences in the already existing local technologies and services. For example, banks in Australia already offered their own cardless payment app systems. Consumer uptake was delayed by technological compatibility, and so Apple had to make changes to comply with local government legislation to allow them to operate across different countries. Users also raised security concerns over the use of Apple Pay. Despite it having the highest level of security for payments, it had to rebuild trust following security breach allegations of other Apple products. Challenge 3: Adding value to Apple. By simply reselling services already provided by banks, Apple was originally aiming at a very small return of 15 cents from users for every $100 in Apple Pay transactions. To increase profits by 1%, Apple Pay purchases need to increase by $451 billion. Apple is currently looking at increasing fees from 0.15% to be the same as other credit cards in the future to increase profits significantly. Apple currently does not make profits from collecting and selling information on user purchasing behavior, unlike Google, but Apple Pay's charges serve as security guarantor service, and this differentiates Apple Pay once more. Given that the primary concerns for Apple Pay is to change the user behavior, it is suggested that recommendations be based on the EAST model of behavioral change. EAST stands for easy, attractive, social, and timely. To make it easy, we need to Reduce the need to opt in. Apple achieved this by pre-installing Apple Pay app onto new products. Reduce the effort of performing an action. Apple achieved this by automatically uploading card details from iTunes accounts. Next, the product needs to be attractive. Apple should increase signage and branding. This increases visibility and helps get consumers' attention. Design rewards and benefits for users. Aside from the convenience and speed of use from using Apple Pay, Apple should have monetary rewards and incentives. Ensure that it is social. Make the behavior socially normal. Apple Pay needs to launch campaigns that demonstrate that the rest of society is using Apple Pay. Use the power of networks. The theory of social identity says that we belong to a group and we want to engage in the similar behavior as our in-group. Apple can do a marketing campaign, like a text blast, saying that 43% of Apple users have made a purchase with Apple Pay already. Finally, timeliness is essential. Prompt people to use Apple Pay when their usual habits are disrupted. For instance, the pandemic temporarily had measures that avoid paying cash transmissions. Apple should employ campaigns when people are most likely to be receptive to increase uptake of Apple Pay service. To come up with effective recommendations, it is imperative for us to look at the motivations behind Apple Pay along with the challenges it faced. The motivations behind Apple Pay is twofold. First, it aims to attract existing customers to using the service and retain usage of Apple devices. Second, it aims to increase device sales among non-users so that they can use Apple Pay, which is exclusive to Apple devices. To recap, there is still a significant number of Apple users who do not use Apple Pay service. Also, there was no hard evidence showing the relationship between the desired use of Apple Pay and the subsequent decision of purchasing an Apple device. And so we cannot establish that Apple succeeded in this second goal as well. To this, we recommend the following. First, that Apple employ the East model and discuss its design implications to Apple Pay. The key lesson here is that customers should remain at the center of product design. We also recommend that Apple create Apple Pay specific information systems that will capture data and find insight for the purpose of running new experiments and fine-tuning the customer value proposition. It is important that such data will not be sold, so that privacy remains a value proposition for Apple. To address the challenge on stakeholder management, we recommend Apple to research on and develop relationships in cultural markets, especially for countries where there is natural uptake of e-wallets like China and India. We have learned that market imperfections give rise to opportunities, and Apple should be quick to exploit this. Last but not the least, Apple should regularly communicate and provide incentive and loyalty programs, not just for customers, but for its other stakeholders as well. This is crucial to maintaining Apple's competitive advantage. We are yet to see if Apple Pay has become a successful pirate or have they joined the Navy instead. On balance, we suggest cautious optimism on Apple Pay. Its value proposition of unrivaled security and convenience gives it a competitive advantage. However, building around people's behavior, technology, the government, and other key players in the mobile payments ecosystem is something Apple should be cautious about. Otherwise, the competitors will become pirates, leaving Apple in their wake.